Hello friends, today we're going to be diving into the topic of how to find off-market properties for sale. If I were to ask you what is the most important skill a real estate investor should have, what would you say? That topic would definitely be up for debate, but I would certainly say probably the most important skill a real estate investor can have is being able to find deals, off-market deals at low prices. That might sound like a large task, but by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that and walk you through the last 2 real estate deals I did specifically utilizing these strategies. Learning to buy properties below market value will completely change your game and your income as a real estate investor. But you truly have to know how to do it. Fear not, because today I'm going to cover just that. I first want to help you understand what market value is and how it's derived. Secondly, I want to dive into distressed sellers and distressed properties and how market conditions play a role in that. And finally, how to find those properties and what strategies I've used to find those distressed below market value properties. If you're ready, let's go. So what is market value in real estate? Have you ever thought about that? Now, it might be pretty simple. Essentially, it's supply and demand. Now, when you think of supply and demand, it's how much inventory is on the market and what are prices selling at, right? Or what is the demand between sellers and buyers? But a lot of times, prices, inventory, that determines market value. Think about it, is if you have a huge supply of homes on the market and not a ton of buyers, the only way to attract these buyers is to lower the price of your home. All things consistent, if there's huge inventory, there's huge supply, and the demand's low, prices typically come down. Now, the other way, just what we went through maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago is where there was not a lot of supply on the market, a huge demand of people wanting to buy homes because interest rates were so low. What happened to the prices of real estate because the demand was so high and the supply was low? Prices went up. Supply and demand market conditions are typically derived from supply and demand. There's other factors that go into that, but for this discussion, I think it's pretty basic if we understand that. I mean, if we look what happened maybe 15 years ago at the first market crash, really the reason the market crashed is there was a huge supply of inventory in the market. There was people that probably shouldn't have bought homes that were able to buy homes. I remember somebody saying, yeah, people are getting ninja loans. And I said, what's a ninja loan? No income, no job, no assets. So by stated income, somebody could say, I make this much money, and they could go buy a home. There was people that had no business purchasing or buying a home, and a lot of those loans defaulted and became a huge supply of real estate on the market. And there was people that picked up some amazing deals on real estate because that market condition was such that prices were coming down because supply was so high and demand was low at the time. And just understand that each area is going to have something different about it because that area might be unique in certain areas. They might allow certain things like short-term rentals, vacation rentals. So prices could vary off of that just depending on what specifically is going on in that area. Now let's talk about distressed properties. What is a distressed property? A distressed property essentially is a property that's a bit run down. Maybe it's older, hasn't had updates to it in a long time, or maybe the person that's living there hasn't taken good care of it, right? They've let the lawn grow really big. There's interesting reels I see occasionally about this guy that owns this landscaping company, and he will go for free and he'll go clean up somebody's yard, and it's amazing the before and after of what happens. And usually distressed properties are those before pictures, but an opportunity to make a tremendous amount of money if we're able to secure or negotiate a price on those properties and then turn around, fix them up, and sell them for a higher price. But essentially, distressed properties create wonderful buying opportunities if you can find those that are off market, right? If they're on market, if they're being advertised by a real estate agent or an organization, a lot of times there's a lot of eyes on that. Whereas if you're able to find a property that's distressed before it gets to market, you're able to usually get a better deal than if it is on market. In the city that I live in, there was a place that I knew, a neighborhood I knew really well, and I knew somebody was looking at potentially leaving, and the property was pretty run down. I went to the individual and said, listen, I'm open to buying your home. And so we had talked for many, many weeks. We'd even agreed upon a price or came really close to agreeing upon a price. And then something happened within that family that made it just challenging for them to do that. They experienced a challenge in their family and ended up listing it with an agent and sold it for probably twice of what I had it almost under contract for. Knowing an area and knowing an individual can really help you in those efforts to maybe find distressed properties that are maybe local to where you're at. Now let's talk about a distressed seller. If you're going to find off-market property deals that are for sale, you're going to have to either find distressed properties, which you just talked about, or a distressed seller. And you might say, well, what is a distressed seller? This is somebody who's going through a challenging situation in their life, right? Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe they've lost a job. Maybe they're moving. All of these could lead to them in a situation where they've got to sell their home, and maybe they've got to sell it fast. And we can become the solution for that. People might say, well, man, that's it's not a very good thing of you to do is go in and buy somebody's properties who's in a challenging or tough situation, but actually it might be the exact thing that they need. They might be wanting somebody to come in and buy their property. And I think agreeing upon a price, that's all up to them. If they need to move quickly, if they have equity in their home, there's a lot of factors go into that. But being able to come in and buy a property that's either distressed seller, distressed property is going to be your best bet for making money in the long run. I just had this happen probably about a year and a half ago. I was looking on Facebook to find some properties, and I found a storage unit that was in Illinois. Not a really big city, but the individual needed to sell the piece of property. And so I approached this individual and said, listen, I'm willing to buy the property. I'm not from the area, and so this is what I'm willing to pay. And I understand that's lower than what you're asking, and I totally get that. He was looking to sell it for $120,000. And I said, listen, I'll buy it for $100,000. And he came back and said, listen, I'll sell it for $105,000. And we negotiated back and forth. We landed on $101,000 for this storage unit in Illinois. I was able to close on that piece of property. Ended up being a good situation for him because he had to move, he had to leave. He got the money, and I got an asset that I'm making money from every single month. And it worked out to be a good situation because he was distressed. He needed to sell a property at a time. And yes, it was below his asking price, but it worked out well for him, worked out well for me. So how do you find these properties? How do you find these sellers? Well, I've talked about it in other episodes, and I'll reiterate it again today. My favorite piece of software, there are actually softwares out there that do all of the work for you. You can put in whatever criteria you want, and it'll spit out results. You can go to any city in the United States, and you can put, I'm looking for a property that's pre-foreclosure, it's vacant, and has an absentee owner. Those are typically the three that I like to look at, because typically if that's the situation, absentee owner doesn't live there, it's vacant, and it's pre-foreclosure, that's all the recipes for a property that is distressed and probably a distressed seller. If you combine those two together, that's a property you're going to find at a pretty good deal, right? And the software that I love to use is RealFlow. It costs each month, but I promise it is worth it to help you find off-market property deals. The other cool thing about it, it actually has an AI score, an artificial intelligence score, and the closer it is to 1,000 means that the most likely it is to sell at a wholesale price or to be able to be a rental. But that AI score does all the work for you and gives you a score as close to 1,000 to know if it's a good deal for you without you wading through much of the data. And even wading through much of the data isn't going to be real challenging, just a few extra steps, but it's a really cool feature that this software RealFlow has. And the other thing is I can save. Anytime I find a property, I just hit save to my leads, and I can go and I can accumulate as many properties I want. And I can even, from the software, send a direct mail piece out to these buyers because they have all the addresses and everything. If they don't, I could skip trace them and pay a little bit of money to get addresses or phone numbers, or I could call these individuals to engage in a dialogue. So RealFlow is an amazing software that helps you find off-market property deals. Another way that before all this technology and software came about, I just became really good at searching the internet looking for properties. And that's another way to still do it. You can go to see which properties are for sale by owner. There's a lot of tools out there that exist to help you find properties. Another way to find off-market property deals is Facebook groups. Now, understand there are a lot of eyes on these, right? But there's a lot of deals that pop up. And if you're able to be kind of first to action, a lot of times there's a lot of looky-loos on there, I guess is what I'm saying. There's a lot of people that are, hey, I'm interested, but very few that take action, right? I found 2 properties. As a matter of fact, the last 2 properties I bought, one was in Utah, one was in Oklahoma. They were off of Facebook groups, and I found them through seller financing groups or distressed property groups that I was a part of. And it was pretty cool because I found the property, I was able to go in, put a little bit of money down, I mean, I'm talking thousands of dollars, and have seller financing in place with a balloon at some point in the future where I'll either refinance or pay off the balance of that property that still is out there. But the cool thing was I was able to find these properties that were off market, right? They weren't listed with a realtor on Facebook groups. So there's a handful of different ways that you can utilize Facebook groups to do that. And the final one that I've talked about in other episodes is driving for dollars, right? It's just going and driving around looking for these off-market property values. They don't have a for sale sign in their yard, but they look a little bit run down. And so you can either go talk to the owner itself or you can talk to the neighbor. And ironically, when I've talked to a few neighbors about the property next door to them that was distressed, they give me more information than usually that I want. And in their mind, they're thinking, awesome, if this person comes in, buys this property, fixes it up, I just say, hey, my name's Aaron. I represent a group of real estate investors and we're looking to acquire properties in this area. That gets them excited because they look at that property that might be distressed is one that potentially could be a nice property with a good owner in that property, right? And so that's another way to find off-market property deals. Now, these are strategies that I've used in my life that have worked really well for me. I'd be interested in what strategies you've used to find off-market property deals. So please comment below. Love to enter in with dialogue with you. And as always, I've got a free gift for you. No obligation. It's a free short-term rental calculator, vacation rental calculator at aaronsfreetraining.com. You put in the purchase price, the expenses, and it spits out to you whether it's a good deal or not. I've used it for all my short-term rentals to determine whether I should buy it or not. Once again, thanks for stopping by. Have an awesome day.